Good evening and welcome to yet another episode of the Health and Wellness Show. Now, this is a continuation of last week's episode where we were talking about grief, and we realized the topic is too interesting and too engaging and too long, so we decided to break it into two parts. So this is part 2 of handling grief and how different religions and cultures handle grief. And last week we talked about how Muslims handle grief. Of course, they bury on the same day or the next day. For Christians, we talked about it also, and we said that it varies from different cultures and different denominations. So from 72 hours to 1 week, depending on what the family agrees with and what the person who died wanted it to be done and how they wanted it to be done. We also talked about Hindus, and Hindus cremate. And with me on set, I still have them here, and we continue with the conversation on how the different religions handle grief. And we were talking about now breaking the news. You've broken the news, you've prepared the body for burial, and I want us to go to Hindus. You've mentioned something of air that I would like us to start with, that for children it's different. Kamal, yes. How so?
The Hindu scriptures say that the child can, we cremate the body.
Yes.
And a child can take the heat in itself after the age of 6. Because till then, even if they touch a bit of heat, they'll feel the heat and it'll burn them, and they'll feel the sensitivity. So that's how we're following the culture.
Okay.
So we have a burial ground as well within our cremation facility in Karioko, and it's open to all. You can come and have a look. And so if the child passes away 6 and under, the burial facility is there, and there's a different process for that to do. When I say process, I mean prayers, and then if they're 6 and above, then we cremate them.
Okay, I'm interested to know, when somebody is dead, whether they're a child or an adult, they're dead. So when you burn them, they don't feel.
Yes.
So how is it for the kids?
It's an the afterlife.
Oh.
The karma.
So this is about the afterlife.
Afterlife. That's what our scriptures say. That we shouldn't hurt. What we believe in is that your body is there. It's just the soul which has left you, and the soul has now gone for reincarnation, and so we don't want to hurt that soul. And that soul is very naive up to the age of 6.
Okay.
So you don't want to hurt it. It's very sensitive, and that's why and after the age of 6, it is strong. It can take whatever it's been given in life. So that's the reason.
Okay. And we'll talk about reincarnation and karma later.
Sure.
But for Hamza,
yes.
Tumeongea pia off air tukasema watu wengi ukufa usiku.
Yeah.
Kwa nini watu wanakufa usiku? Na tena umesema ukipata tu simu usiku unajua huyu ni mtu ameenda.
Nitasema kwetu Waislamu, kila mtu amepangiwa wakati wake, dakika yake, siku yake ambaye atakufa. Kwa hivyo hata ikiwa ni usiku, alikuwa ameandikiwa atakufa usiku. Kama ni mchana, atakuwa ameandikiwa. Hiyo ndio mchana. Kwa sababu sisi huwa tunasema dunia ni kama basi. Unapotoka town unakuja Mombasa Road, kuna stage kadhaa hapa njiani. Lakini wewe kwa hiyo matatu ama basi ya dunia, ni wewe unasema mahali unashuka. But kwa basi ambayo inaitwa dunia, sio wewe unasema mahali unashuka, bali unashukishwa. Unaambiwa hapa ndio mwisho. Kwa hivyo tunaambiwa mara nyingi ukae tu ready. Ukae ready, unaweza ambiwa shuka, na kuna mwingine anaambiwa panda. Manake huyu anakufa na mwingine anazaliwa. Kwa hivyo usiku, vile alivyosema, hata umeona nilikuwa nacheka kwa sababu ni picha yangu kule Kibira vile niko. Hata nipite na pikipiki hivi kidogo, pikipiki kienda mbio kabisa hivi, nyuma yangu ni simu. unaenda wapi, kuna nini imetokea,
Nani ametuacha?
ametuacha, ama Kenyatta tu nimeenda hapo stage ya Kenyatta, nikishuka nikiingia ndani kule, atapita na matatu, lazima apige simu, nimekuona mahali fulani, kuna nini, kuna nini. Kwa hivyo kifo, kuna wale wameandikiwa yao usiku, kuna wale wameandikiwa mchana, na hakuna ajuae yake itakuwa saa ngapi ama itakuwa wapi. Juu hata naweza toka safari hapa niende, kumbe huko ndio leo ananitaka, huko ndio siku yangu inaenda kufikia huko. Kwa hivyo hakuna usiku na mchana. Kila mtu ameandikiwa yake.
Lakini commonly ni usiku.
Commonly usiku, kwa sababu hata wewe unasikia kuna ugonjwa mingi inaanzaga usiku.
Inaanza usiku.
Ugonjwa mingi kama ni pressure utasikia imepanda usiku. Mtu pengine amekorogwa mchana, akakuja kwa nyumba, akaanza kufikiria zile vitu alikuwa amekorogwa naye, imekuwa kisababu ya kifo chake. Sukari, umekorogwa mchana, kuna kitu imekusumbua kwa akili. Sasa usiku ni saa yako ile ya kutulia, na wewe saa hiyo ndio unaingia kwa ile cassette. So inakuwa kisababu ile nimepanda kisababu ya kifo. Kwa hivyo kuna mengi ambaye yanatokea usiku.
Na pia watoto wengi uzaliwa usiku.
Watoto pia
kama usiku iko na mambo mengi. Sawa sawa, asante Hamza. Twende sasa kwa Daisy, in terms of now psychology. Tumeongea about Christianity, Hindu and Islam and how they handle the death of a loved one. But how is it supposed to happen psychologically? For example, in Islam, there's something called closure. But for Islam, somebody has died today, they're buried today or tomorrow. How do we grieve someone whom we've not even seen their body because familia ziko mbali? Now for Hindus, of course, cremation, it is in their religion and culture, but how is it different when it comes to handling the grief?
Like in the perspective of a psychologist?
Yeah, in the perspective of a psychologist, they were cremated or they were buried before I even saw them, the body. Yeah.
So I want to take you a little bit back on the part for some of the losses that we can have. You remember one of the losses that we mentioned is anticipatory.
Yes.
This person you were seeing,
sick.
they were deteriorating.
Yes.
And another type of loss that we looked at was this tragic loss or traumatic loss.
Like a road accident.
Yes, like a road accident.
Or an accident at home.
Yes. And especially with a road accident, it's usually a little complex. The saddest thing with reality and how the present times are structured is that you will see that there was a road accident of somebody traveling maybe between here and Nakuru, and then you realize it's a certain vehicle. And you realize, oh, my relative was in that vehicle, and before you know it, there's already photos and videos on social media.
It's very bad nowadays because you could learn of the death of your loved one on social media.
Yes.
Before you are told in person.
Yes.
Which is I think
it's
very
really
complex.
grisly, and it's really complex for this person. Or maybe another thing is, maybe like right now children are doing their exams in school, and while they're doing the exams in school, you just come and then you're picked up, and then they say, oh, we didn't tell you about the loss because you were doing exams, and it would have affected your performance in school. So there's all those complex ways of picking up the loss. So now the loss has already happened, and now you're showing up in therapy, and maybe you're asking, how do we now allow somebody to process the grief? So the first things first is we try, and for me, I am a Christian, but I will not wear the hat of a Christian as a therapist. I can't come and say, so maybe denial allows us to let that person view the body, to touch the body, to be able to, so the brain can be able to process that this person is gone. Traumatic, we call death in general is a traumatic event. And if it's not handled properly, somebody can get post-traumatic stress disorder. So that means we need to allow this person for the denial to happen, let that person hold the dead one, let them go through the processes. If it's washing the body, let them do that. If it's cremating the body, let's allow them to go through the cultural practices. I was reading an excerpt where they were saying, and sorry to jump into the cultural bit, by a clinical psychologist, a student in Daystar, they were saying that the way the Luos mourn, it would traumatize the children. because of how they wail loudly.
Yeah.
They use the leaves. They
Yeah.
will. The other day when Baba
dramatic,
died, they
yes.
put the leaves on
And
the.
we'll come to that.
And some people will think that it's very traumatic for them, but you see, it's a normal occurrence. It's what they see. It's what they have
It's their
normalized.
culture.
It's the culture.
It's how they know how to grieve.
Yes, it's how they know how to grieve. So, but the best way to allow them to go through the cultural practices, allow them to talk, to express themselves, to talk about the grief again and again. Our brains don't want to process traumatic things, so they want to push them away. And we say somebody has gotten to the point of healing when they're able to talk about it. And it doesn't mean that we've forgotten this person. It doesn't mean that, okay, just move on. There's a sad thing that people say.
Don't even
Snap out of
don't
it.
even watch her move on. I attended a burial the other day, and they were telling this is someone who's lost their mom, and now they're burying, and they're telling her not to cry. Don't cry, sing, because it's this dini kadhaa za Wakristo.
Yes.
Badala ya tuimbe, the clap,
yeah.
clap, jump, don't
Yeah.
cry.
Let's be happy.
Yeah.
And
We are
and
celebrating their life.
we're celebrating their life. Or they wouldn't want you to cry. So that inhibits the process of grief.
Or it complicates it further.
Yes, it complicates the grief further because you're told don't cry. Or even traditionally when a man is told you're not supposed to cry. I think even for me adjusting into therapy and seeing a man cry in therapy, at first it was
Awkward.
why are they crying?
Yeah,
Because that is not what
man.
I'm cultured to do. But I'm eventually I was allowed to let them grieve because this is the space in which they can.
So you're saying let them grieve in the best way they know.
let
how.
them grieve in the best way that they know. how
You know
to.
what we
Okay,
say?
yes.
We say when we're doing the funeral or when we go to the hospital or to the home and the family members are crying, we say please allow them to cry, especially the wife or the husband or the children. Let them cry because that's where they're releasing all their
The
grief
emotions.
at one go,
Yes.
so that also you have a different processes after the death has been announced. There's so many legality processes to be done. There's so much planning process to be done, and there's so many other processes that the family needs to go through before the funeral can take place. And you need their input. You can't, as a volunteer or as an undertaker, you can't do that process for them. You need their signatures, you need their approvals, you need their input. And now if they're just not going to do that, things are going to prolong.
Yes.
Right? And there are times when the clock is ticking. It's in terms of Islam, in terms of the Hindu culture, in terms of if they want to donate the corneas, the clock is ticking. And you want those approvals, you want the signatures. At the same time, it's a balancing act. You can't just tell them, look, don't cry right now, cry later on, right? But I need your signatures here. So we tell them, please allow them to cry.
Yeah.
And we've seen about 6 out of 10 that you allow them to cry for that 1 hour, 2 hours. After that, it all mellows down, and then they're composed. Though they're still in denial, or they're accepting, but it's that process is now happening.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you,
it's a
Kama.
smoother process.
Yes, it's a smoother process. So for Hindus, you allow them to grieve. Even for Christians, and as a psychologist, you recommend that you allow people to grieve. Hamza, how is it for Muslims? Amekufa leo, tumezika leo ama kesho. Munapatia watu hiyo nafasi ya kuomboleza?
Kwanza nitaongea kuhusu kulia. Kulia ni lazima mtu alie.
Lazima.
Na kwetu tunaambiwa lia vile unataka kulia. Lakini usishout sana na usianze kuongea kama ni baba amekufa unasema baba umetuacha kwa nani? Hizo vitu. Baba ni kama
umetuacha peke yetu. Sasa tutaanza wapi?
Yani kuongea umetuacha peke yetu.
For Raila, I was at Karen when he passed on, and my condolences. Of course, people are still grieving, and it's good to be sensitive. But we also had women who didn't know him personally wanasema umetuacha kama wajane, mayatima. So we'll talk about that when it comes to national grief, but nakuelewa ukisema
kidogo tu. Kwetu tunaambiwa kila kitu ni Mwenyezi Mungu amekuleta, na kila kitu yako amepanga. Kama ni riziki, kama kuna baba ameondoka, amewapangia kuna mtu ambaye anaweza kuja kufanya kukua kama baba. Yani kila kitu imepangwa.
So Mungu akitoa pia amepanga.
Na kwetu tunasema maiti anasikia. Anasikia kila kitu kwetu Waislamu, anasikia. Na wakati unalia baba umetuacha kwa nani, tunaenda kuhangaika, yeye anaulizwa. Kwani wewe ulikuwa Mungu kwao. Okay. So familia wanaambiwa msiongee. Lia, kwa sababu hata tunaambiwa mtu ukiona mtu amefariki, mtu yake amefariki ndani na alii, huyo mtu atakuwa mgonjwa. Atakuwa na shida kwa sababu itakuwa inaenda kwa roho. So lakini ukiona mtu amelia, unajua hiyo kitu imetoka. Kwetu tu kuna limit ya kulia, sio kupaza sauti juu sana. Hata nimeona kwa Hindus hawa shout, lakini ukiona mtu na handkerchief analia. Kwa hivyo kulia kwa Uislamu iko, lakini naambia usiongee mingi wala usiinue sauti.
Twende sasa Hamza kwa mazishi. Sasa imefika wakati wa kuzika huyu mtu.
Sisi kwetu sheria ya dini ya Kiislamu inasema mtu akifa ni mambo manne tu. Mambo manne afanyiwe: kisha aogeshwe, avalishwe sanda, aende aswaliwe na aende azikwe. Hizo vitu nne. Na hizo vitu nne ni lazima Muislamu afanyiwe. Hata akiwa hayuko karibu na family. Unaona sisi Waislamu, kama mimi kuna wakati naendaga City Mortuary, naendaga Kenyatta Mortuary, naona zile list ya wale ambao wamekaa sana, ambaye wanafaa kwenda kuzikwa na kanjo. Lakini kama Muislamu atapatikana hapo, lazima tumshughulikie. Hata kama hatumjui, bora tufuate ile sheria ya hapo mortuary. Nafaa tujaze nini, nafaa tufanye nini, nafaa tufanye nini. Kwa sababu yeye kwetu Waislamu, ikiwa Muislamu hata kuwa amefanyiwa hiyo kitu, dhambi inashika Waislamu wote.
Okay.
Kwa hivyo hizo
nimekupata hapo. Sasa lazima umfanyie hata kama umjui.
Hata kama
aombewe, afanyiwe hizo the first steps.
Hizo vitu ine lazima afanyie.
Okay. So sasa after mmezika,
alafu kidogo ni kuweke
unirudisha nyuma.
Kuna kitu ambaye nataka kuweka hata watazamaji wakiwa wanaona wasikie. Kuna wale ambao wamesilimu. Kuna yule ambaye hakuwa Muislamu lakini
convert to
pengine ni mmoja ama wawili. The whole family si Waislamu. Na ako Nairobi na ameaga Nairobi. Mnanipata? Ameaga Nairobi. Sasa huyu tunamfanya aje kama Waislamu? Na nyumbani baba ama uncle ama wale family wako huko
ni Wakristo, lakini pia wako wanasema wanataka kuzika Kikristo. Sana si Kikristo, wamekubali huyu ni Muislamu, ni Muislamu, lakini sasa sisi wanataka ipelekwe nyumbani. Kwa sababu kuna vile wengine bado wanaingia kwa dini, but culture bado nasikia huyu ni mtoto wa kwanza, anafaa awekwe kwa boma.
So sisi tumeshirikiana na yule kwa undugu wa Kiislamu. Lakini udamu inabaki pale pale. Hata akiwa ameitwa Muhammad, kama ni Muhammad Wanjala ndio baba, bado Muhammad Wanjala. Kwa sababu bado ako na ile urithi yake huko. Huwezi badilisha.
So huwa mnafanya vipi?
Sasa huwa sisi tunafanya hivi, tunawasiliana na familia. Alafu tunawaambia sisi hatuna gharama, lakini nyinyi kama mnataka ipelekwe, tafuteni gharama kwa haraka, gari ya kumpeleka. Sisi tutafanya yote ambayo inatakana: kuogeshwa, kuvalishwa, kuwekwa vizuri, hata Muislamu anasafirishwa na sanduku. Safari ya Kiislamu unaweka kwa sanduku, unapeleka, ikifika huko wanatoa. Okay. So kuna hiyo mawasiliano na ushirikiano ya hiyo family itafanyika. Bora hiyo family wakubali na watembee na
Sawa.
na nini ya Kiislamu.
Tutarudi kwako Hamza sasa, utueleze after mazishi kuna hiyo ya 40 days.
After mazishi
Tutarudi. Acha tusikize Daisy. Tumsikize Daisy. Now for you, now as a Christian Sabaot, for example, now for your uncle was different, he was cremated. For your grandfather, how was it after, during the burial and after?
So for him, he went and stayed in the mortuary. So I understand for elderly people, we don't rush the burial.
Okay.
But if it's someone younger,
Why that?
Because his life is a little extensive. That's
Okay.
one. So we'd want to celebrate his life. We would want to tell as many people as possible through
And
his
also
career.
he has a wide community.
Yeah, he has
friends,
a wider
family.
community, and even the planning is more extent.
Yes.
So we'll need more tents, we'll need more seats.
More
So
time to
yes,
plan.
more time to process.
Okay.
So with all that, there is also I see there's printing of t-shirts, although I know there's something comical about it right now in the social media, but there's even printing of t-shirts, there is catering team. So all this planning is a lot of planning. There's a lot of committees. There were committees, maybe a committee in Nairobi, a committee in Kitale, and then they'd raise the money. And so that means the day of the burial, they get the body from the mortuary. There's some viewing of the body in the mortuary, and this is the day before the burial.
Day before. Yeah, I wanted to ask for most cultures or Christians, the body sleeps kwa compound kabla ya siku ya mazishi. So that was the same for your grandfather.
Yes.
Okay.
So they brought the body home, and they'd bring it specifically to his sitting room where his house is. So they'd bring it specifically to the sitting room. They'd put a table, and then they'd have the coffin there.
Yes.
And mostly what happens is the widow would sit there. Around there, the widow and the sisters and the people to support would be there. And if people would come and view the body, they'd come and also say their prayers, shake their hand. Sometimes they'd give a hug. Sometimes they'd say some encouraging messages like, it's God's plan. Although it is well. It is God's plan. Although I'm really ish with that, because somehow it might strengthen somebody's faith in God.
And it could be true. Yes, it is God's plan.
Yes.
I mean, it's God's will in Christianity that, he, the same way with Muslims, from God we came, to God we return, from dust to dust as well. It's the same, it's in the Bible. But now how people handle grief is different. So this person, hata ako denial bado, unamwambia, it's God's plan.
So saying it's God's plan can flip it either to the part where
They
it's fine,
accept
I'm
it's
in
fine,
God's hands, or
like,
why
no.
did God have to allow this to happen?
Yes.
So that needs to be said in a way,
Moderation.
in some moderation. So that is what happens at night, and everybody sleeps there, and there's music. We usually call it disco matanga. There's music, there's food the night before, and now the morning, the church is the one that comes and picks the body, and then there's some music. They come, they place the body in the middle, and if people walk in, they'd come and view
Surround
the body,
and view the body
before the body is actually taken
for the service,
for the
funeral service.
And now during the funeral service, there'd be an officiator for the funeral service. They'd pray for the body, and family members would be around. The body would be lowered slowly, and I think this is also very significant that, and maybe you've seen when the spade is there, they'd allow family members to just grab, even if it's a handful of the soil, to be able to pour, because that allows you to let them go. Like, I've allowed myself to let it go. And I'd hear the pastor say, we've come from the dust and we're going to go back to the dust.
We return,
Yes, so they'd cover the body with soil, and then depending on what people want, like for my grandfather, they made sure that they have cemented it at the top.
For others, it's just that.
Yes, for others, it's just that.
Some even don't put the cross. Now for Christians, it differs from denomination. Now as we're about to take a break. Time imesonga, bado tujemaliza hata nusu ya topic. But sasa, briefly, 1 minute, like during the burial or during the cremation. So tuanze na Kamal. During the cremation, what are there rituals or prayers that you do?
Yes.
And also Hamza atasema alafu twende break.
So once we come from the mortuary, we rest him. We come to the house. There's a process there's a prayers to be done with the immediate family. Once that process is done, then we go to our community hall. That's where the extended friends and relatives and the business associates, or whatever you want to call it, they'll come and pay their respects there. And then from there we'll go to the crematorium. There's small prayers there at the crematorium and for the immediate family to do, and then we'll light the pyre, or they'll press the button if it's the cremator.
Okay. For Hamza?
Kwa haraka haraka sisi tukishaogesha, tumevalisha na watu pia wanaona, sio vile watu wengine wasema Waislamu waruhusu kuona maiti. Wanaona kuna maiti ambayo iruhusiwi hata kwa Ukristo, kwa sababu kuna ule amechomeka, kuna ule wa maji, kuna hizo sasa unaenda kuona nini. Baada ya hiyo kuvalishwa, then tutatolewa nje. Lazima kama mashehe, sisi family ndio inafaa izungumze, but kwa ile wakati hawawezi, wanatupea ruhusa kuongea mawili matatu tu kuhusiana na kifo vile iko, alafu baadaye deni. Kwa sababu kwetu Waislamu, once tu mtu akikufa, hapo majirani wote wanatembelewa kuulizwa yeyote ambaye anamdai, na haifai uache kwa hiyo wakati useme ilipwe. Ilikuwa kama utaki utasema kama bado ako hai utamwambia nimekusamehe, but kama amekufa na deni kwa maduka wapi kila pahali, alafu sasa hapo nje akiwa bado ako nje, yule atakayezungumza kama ni shehe, kama ni yule atakayezungumza pia atauliza wale wote wamekuja pale, kama kuna deni ahamishe hiyo deni. Sasa toa hiyo deni kutoka kwake iende kwa familia. Watoto wake unataja wawili mahead baada hiyo inaenda msikitini. Na swala yetu si lazima msikitini. Swala ya jeneza yetu hata nyumbani inaweza swaliwa, lakini siku hizi kwa sababu msikiti ziko mingi, ziko karibu, then family
hapo kwa deni kabla tufunge nani ndo analipa? Na kama familia haijiwezi kulipa hiyo
kama familia haijiwezi, wanakaa chini, wanaeleza, wanaleta kwetu mashehe.
Okay.
Watasema kwa mashehe sisi hatujiwezi, na kuna ndio hii list imekuja. So Waislamu wanalipa. Kama Muislamu anakuwa kwa Kenyatta Hospital na anadaiwa 3 million
na inapatikana
ya nini ya bill
community
na
Wakristo
inalipwa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Asante.
Wacha tuchukue break, alafu tutarudi tuseme mambo ya madeni na now the morning period after.
Yes.
Yani sasa mtu ameenda, mumeachwa, mnafanya nini? Usibanduke. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back, and if you've just tuned in, this is the Health and Wellness Show. My name is Chabet Birir, and we are talking about grief and how different religions handle loss and grief of a loved one. We've just talked about how Muslims bury, we've talked about how Christians bury, and we've also talked about how Hindus cremate. And we were talking about now after the burial or during the burial when the announcement is made, kama uko na deni ya mwenda zake, kuja utuambie to sort. Now that is for Muslims, and Hamza was telling us that for them, if the family cannot pay the debts, they take them to the sheikhs, the list ya madeni alafu munalipa, which is a good thing. But for Christians iko aje days?
I think he's done a good thing to remind us of that. I remembered in my grandfather's funeral.
Burial, yes.
The day after, now that's when they call the neighbors, and now the neighbors sit down, and for them they ask of two things. Do you have a debt? So if you have a debt for the deceased, you need to announce. Kama uko na deni.
Deni, like wewe alikupea pesa.
Alikupea pesa. So you must declare that. You must declare that I have money for the person who's dead.
Yeah.
And also, if he owed you, you need to say it out loud. And now the way he's mentioning it, it has to be taken up. Like, so us as the family, we will pay, and this is the plan for the payment.
Okay. How about Hindus?
For us, unfortunately, it's handled in a very different manner. In simple terms, we don't wash our linen dirty linen in public.
So you don't announce.
So we don't announce, but it's normally discussed after the funeral and after the grieving period or the mourning period has expired. Obviously, if it's a bank, then obviously it's all in the legal process. But if it's a friend to friend or a person to person loan, then obviously that person will go to the family and say, look, this is what was owed to me, or I owed this person. And if it was money borrowed, then obviously he needs to show how it was done, and it's sorted out by the family, or the eldest of the family, or somebody who's become a guardian of the family.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, okay, madeni yamelipwa, now the family is left. Like you said, when the morning people come, when just before the burial and just after, we have many people coming. But now after people leave, how do you handle?
So let me tell you, now we've cremated, and we've now gone home, we showered. There is an after prayer. That's when we're saying that's the final prayer to give that person, so he's the soul, that's the final goodbye. So we've done that, and then we have so the immediate family of, so if it's a male person who has passed away, the wife's parents will bring in food for that evening or that afternoon and feed everyone, because in our culture is when you have a death in the family, you just sit and mourn. You don't go into the kitchen. You expect your neighbors or your family members to bring food and your upkeep for that many days. So that is the last meal which will be given, because you've not eaten well within this couple of days. So that is going to be a good healthy meal that your family, your maternal or paternal family will bring for you. After that, the process starts. So if it's a lady who has passed away, the family will mourn for 11 or 12 days, and then there's some other final prayers which the priest will come and do. If it's a male, then it goes up to 13 days. And then
why the difference of 2 days?
Good question. I've asked myself, I've asked some priests, but it's just there written in the scriptures.
Okay.
And that's how we've done it. I apologize, I don't have an answer for that.
Yes, it's okay.
But and then after that, the immediate family, that means the wife and the children and the brothers and the immediate family will do another prayer after 1.5 months, and that's the final solace to the soul.
To the soul.
That's to the soul. That's when you're saying we're breaking the bonds. You're on your own. We're on our own. Not on your own as per se, but you now go and look after yourself in another life, and we'll now look after the family and ourselves in this world.
Now, before we come to Hamza and Daisy, there's this aspect of ashes. Now, after burning, do you remain with the ashes, or do they choose what to do with the, depending on the family?
Yes, it's normally if the departed has not left any wishes. Normally, people do it where they were born, or they would do it to the nearest river, or they would even take it to India and do it within the Ganges. It all depends on what the family decides.
So some people decide to stay with the ashes, some they take it to a river or an ocean.
Yes, but
some don't.
In our culture, we don't keep the ashes.
You don't keep the ashes?
We put them in a running river or running lake. Okay. But some people have even opted to do it within their farm where they were born. So if they were born in Nyeri or Nanyuki or Kakamega or somewhere, and they were living near a farm, they would go and do it there if that farm was still there, within their family inheritance. Okay. Or some people have even gone and said, look, my father used to stay here, his wishes are to disperse in this land, is it okay for you? And they've done it.
Okay. And we'll come back to you, and you'll now talk to us about karma and reincarnation and why the ashes are, spread. Twende kwa Hamza. After mazishi, madeni yamelipwa ama mmekubaliana, kuna period ya kumon kama kwa familia ambayo hawakuwa karibu huyo mtu akizikwa. How do you help them overcome or come to terms with the loss of that person?
mahali ya matanga huwezi kuwa kuna mahali utakuja kuwazuia wasi imeisha hapo. Lakini kwa Uislamu ni siku 3. Siku 3 ya kuomboleza, ya kwenda pale kutoa taazia. Ile mkono wa taazia ile kuambia familia pole. Na kidogo naona culture zinakuja karibu. Pale nyumbani haifai kupikwa chochote. Mahali matanga ilikuwa. So marafiki, hii sheria vile inasema marafiki, familia wale wako nje ndio wanafaa wanapika, wanaleta hapo. Kwa hivyo na kuhusu kuna kitu ulikuwa umeniuliza kuhusu 40.
Siku 40. Alafu pia kwanza kabla ya siku 40 wanawake wakubaliwi kwenda
wanawake
kwa kaburi
wanawake
wakati wa kuzika.
Wakati wa kuzika hawakubaliwi.
Kwa nini?
Sababu ndugu yangu ameshasema. Na hiyo ndio iko kwa Uislamu. Sababu pale mnaweza kuja kupata hatari nyingine. Wanawake mnajua mko na nini sana. Tukianza nini ya last week kuna mahali alisema hapo. Alisema kuna vile mtu anaweza kujitupa
kwa moto for crematorium ama kwa kaburi
na sijui ni daktari ama nani amesema wanaume wanakuwa rahisi ya kusema
aya tumekubali.
Tumekubali lakini wanawake inakuwa inachukua time. Kwa hivyo yeye mwanamke ama wanawake wanaweza kuja kwenda baada ya kuzika baadaye ndio pia waende tu waone tu kaburi.
But Daisy, you said the women are weak, but I will correct you. I'll say women were weak.
Were weak.
Yes,
so
because
we're no longer weak.
No, they're no longer weak because we now allow women to come to the crematorium.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay.
And my brother Hamza will agree. Part of our culture used to say, or it says, that all the final rites are to be done by a male, a son, right? But now we're changing. Okay. Today, what if you don't have a son?
Yeah.
What happens? You only have a daughter. Do you stop her from doing the final rites of a father or a mother? No. So we are now giving them that opportunity to do whatever a son would do, the daughter would do, including coming to the crematorium and lighting the pyre.
All right. Thank you, Kamal.
Yeah.
Turudi kwa Hamza, ulikuwa unatueleza. Yeah. It's okay. It's a conversation.
Kidogo pia
feel free to jump in. Yes.
Kidogo pia amesema pengine mtoto wa kike peke yake ndio yuko. Na sisi pale tukifika kabrini kuna wale wanaoshuka chini. Sisi hatupeleki na kamba.
Kwanza niliona kuna vitu mnaweka kwa the grave. Sasa niulize niliona
sisi sijui ni kitu gani hiyo uliona lakini sisi ni ile kaburini
vile inatengenezwa
vile iko alafu chini kumetengezwa kuna
bao
kuna nini nyingine kama mtaro ndio sasa tu pale mtu ataenda kuwekwa alafu inategemea na mwili ya mtu lakini sisi hatuziki kama inaona juu nazika kama imelala na kwa upande wa kulia so ile size ya mwili yako unapoishi duniani hapa kuna watu wamejua na sisi pia hatuna mtu maalum wa kuchimba kaburi ni watu familia wanajitolea ama pengine Lang'ata.
Ulize tu kidogo very interesting. Mbona ana face right and not left or up or down?
Sisi wote kama tuna swala kama tuko hai tuna face Mecca.
Right,
na Mecca pale ndio kuna ile msikiti takatifu sote tukiswali tunaelekea huko kama vile tuliamrishwa kwa Qur'ani. So mtu akifa pia anatakana aelekezwe uso wake
kwa Mecca
kwa Mecca huko. Na ndio utapata unaona jua mahali inatoka na inaenda kuanguka then kichwa itakuwa hivi uso inaelekea huko Mecca.
Sawa.
Alafu baada ya hiyo siku na mbao tunaweka hapo juu.
Hiyo mbao sasa na kuna matope.
Hiyo matope inawekwa kwa sababu ukiwacha hiyo mbao hivi wakati mnarudisha mchanga inaweza hiyo mbao inaweza kutokana, alafu mchanga ikaenda kwa mwili. Ndio mchanga itaendea tu mwili, itaendea tu mwili, lakini kwa saa hii vile anazikwa si itakuja hata mtu anaenda anabadilika paka anakuwa mchanga, lakini kwa wakati ile inazuiliwa hiyo mbao isiteleze ama isitoke kwa laini.
And the same tu na kwa Kristo tunaweka coffin. Of course hiyo coffin itaisha kwa mchanga, but for now
mchanga ikisharudishwa basi tunakuaga tuna kama alama moja tu ambayo ukikuja utajua huyu ni mwanamke au huyu ni mwanaume. Ni kama alama tu. Haina uzito kwa dini. Mbele mwanaume anakuwa na mbele na nyuma mbili tu.
Vijiti
ama mbao nyingine naweza kuweka, lakini mwanamke anakuwa na 3.
Mbele, katikati.
Sasa hii inajulikana huyu ni mwanamke
na huyu ni
mwanaume. So tukikuja baada ya hiyo siku 3 watu wanaweza pitia tu familia
pia wanawake
kukaa kupiga story kidogo ile
kuomboleza.
40 ni kama dua, ni kama prayer ambayo familia tu familia wakisema watafanya wafanye, kama pia hawafanyi si lazima. Sio lazima kwa dini ya Kiislamu kabisa, si lazima, kwa sababu mnaweza kuachia wao mzigo.
Chakula
unaweza kuwa kupanga hiyo tena 40 waanze kuingia kupaka kwa madeni. Anaona tu afanyie watu watu wajue wamefanya hiyo siku 40, aende achukue deni ya mchele nini. Sasa inarudi kwa
mzigo kwa
familia. Kwa hivyo kama kuna hiyo dini imesema achana
nayo. Okay. Daisy, how was it for you after burial?
So again, I am not a religious expert, so I can't really speak
for your personal experience.
Yes. For my grandfather, I remember what would happen is people would still come and say pole throughout, but it was not as consistent. But what I remember is a year after that, we were able to gather around as family and to just
memorial.
Memorial. It was just something small, like just talk about how this 1 year has been for you. Although I lost an aunt recently, and I remember there was something on the 40th, but I can't really speak much about it because I was not present about what happens.
Okay, so it varies, but kuna zile commonalities ya kuallow watu wa grieve even after the burial. Now I want us to talk now about national grief, and then we'll come to the psychological aspect of
Kuna kitu
grief.
Hujaniuliza.
Kuna kitu sijakuuliza? Hebu tueleze.
Mwanaume wa Kiislamu amekufa na ameacha
familia,
ameacha mke.
Hakuna
kitu yoyote mmeuliza kama.
Hebu tueleze what happens.
What happens, huyu mwanamke ambaye amebaki ni nini huwa inafanyika?
What happens?
Na watoto wanachunguaje?
Sheria mwanamke huyu atakaa kwa kitu inaitwa eda. Hata hiyo ndio nilikuwa nangoja muulize. Atakaa kwa kitu inaitwa eda ya 4 months na 10 days.
4 months and 10 days.
Kwa sababu ni mwanamke.
What is eda?
Eda ni kumweka katika hali ya kuangalifu, kwa sababu ule mwanaume anaweza kuwa pengine ameacha mimba. So wewe huyu mwanamke wakimwachilia hivyo anaweza kwenda kupata.
Kama mwanaume ameenda, mwanamke amebaki. So mwanamke mkewe sasa ndio anakuwa observed.
Kwa hiyo kwa sababu anaweza kwenda dini ikimwacha, anaweza enda pengine aliwachwa na mimba. Alafu akapatana na mtu mwingine. Hiyo damu itaenda kuhesabiwa ni ya huko. So hizo ndio anawekwa hapo na akikuja kuachiliwa ni msafi. Anakuwa msafi.
Na kama aliachwa na mimba mnafanyaje?
Hiyo atakaa
kwa familia yenu.
Atakaa mpaka hata mara nyingi hata akimaliza eda kwa hiyo boma
akiamua
afukuzi. Ukisikia tu, kwa sababu wa binadamu siku hizi wako na maneno mingi. Pengine ndio mwingine
anza kukuja kuchukua vitu,
lakini mwanamke anaachiliwa hapo. Hata akimaliza hiyo eda ako hapo tu.
So ni choice yake.
Akipata mume mwingine sasa ndio atachukuliwa
atachukuliwa
aende. Kwa hiyo wakati wa eda pia haitakikani vipodeo yoyote. Haitakani ajipodoe, haitakani avae hizi.
Kwa nini?
Sababu unajua ako kwa eda, ako kwa ile nini kuonwa, kuomboleza. So pengine wewe mwingine atamuona hata bado so ako kwa maombolezi, anawekwa hapo, kila kitu yake anapata. Na pia anaweza kuwa anafanya kazi na kazi haitakuwa imemruhusu 4 months. Kwa hivyo anaruhusiwa, anaweza kwenda
kazi lakini arudi pale.
Kuna mavazi ile yetu ile. Lakini akiwa kazini pia ni mavazi ya kujisitiri mpaka hiyo muda yake iishe. Basi.
Okay.
Kwa mwanamke hiyo nilikuwa mtakuja kukumbuka.
Na kwa Waislamu sasa kuna ile polygamy. So kama mume aliacha wanawake 4 kwa mfano, mnafaa handle aje? Wote watabaki ama waende?
Wote wataka kwa hiyo eda. Si kila mtu alikuwa kwa.
Kila mtu.
Baada hiyo eda
wako free.
Sasa unapata wengi ambao walishazaa watoto pale. Wengine watoto 3, 4, 5. Sasa amemaliza eda lakini anakaa tu. Anakaa hapo tu, watoto wako hapo.
Okay. That's an
lakini akipata mtu wa kumuoa amwezi kumzuia, bora alimaliza ile eda.
Okay. Asante Hamza kwa kutukumbusha hiyo part, singejua. Now for Hindus, how is it when a husband leaves the wife?
She's in mourning period for that 1.5 months, and once they've said, then obviously she needs to go into her daily life. Obviously, we've seen circumstances where the lady is a young lady, so obviously, and she doesn't have children. The man's family says, look, it's better that if you can start a new life, new family, and do whatever you have to do, and they willingly give her away, and be part of her second family and give her away to a new family. Some have opted not to do carry on with life, in the sense they want to still be a widow. Some have have even opted to go in life as a widow, but then realized that they need a partner in life, and it's an open decision.
Decide what to do.
And some have even children, but they've still opted to marry with the children as well.
Okay.
And the family, or the accepting family, has been kind enough to accept the children as well.
Okay. Yeah. And for Christians, I think it's the same, Daisy. You know, nobody chase, but of course it varies. Some people chase the woman, some people embrace them. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think it's your decision to make whether you want to move on or not. And now let's talk about. But
do you see something in this, in these 3 cultures that we're discussing?
Yes.
There are so many similarities.
So many similarities.
But it's just we call them a different tree.
Death has no. Death does not choose the culture or the religion. So there's something common about.
But it's just we call it a different tree as well.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
We call it your tree is Christian, our tree is Hindu, and your Christian, their tree is Islam.
Okay. How about it's a woman, mwanamume ameachwa widow sasa? How is it? For Christians, they move on very fast. The men move on very fast.
Mwanaume hana kwa Kiislamu hana nini? Hana ile kama eda ama nini.
Okay, so yake ni kuamua the same way. Yeah, but of course it varies individually, and time is up, unfortunately.
Isipokuwa kidogo tu, isipokuwa unajua nilikuambia hapa awali, kifo ya bibi si mchezo. Kwa hivyo usifikirie pia hata kama kwa uhuru tu akizika bado ile
of course kila mtu ako na njia yake ya kugrieve. The loss of a wife is complex for everyone, and it's, you know, it's individual grief. And of course we empathize with those who've lost their wives, their husbands. May God comfort all of you. We are wrapping it up. So much left to say, but unfortunately we are limited by time. So tukifunga tu, tukimalizia kwa national grief, Hamza and Kamal, and then Daisy, you'll wrap it up on how to handle both individual, community and national grief. Sawa, briefly too, maybe 2 minutes each. 1 minute, 1 minute.
In the last couple of years, we've lost two great leaders.
Yes.
One in the political world, and one in the philanthropic world. Philanthropic world was Hasu Patel, the owner of Mombasa Cement. You saw Mombasa came to a standstill. The county government basically closed down the town for him. They were, and as we said, there were about over 5,000, 6,000 children who said they were now orphans because he used to support them with their food, their clothing, their schooling, but those and most of them were the special need children. So that was our national mourning on one side. Second is the recent mourning we are going through, went through and going through. With the passing of our beloved Right Honourable Prime Minister. He left us, the whole country, without a figurehead. And the reason I say a figurehead is because a lot of politicians have said, and which I agree with, he was a pillar of our destiny. He directed us to the right destiny. Some of us saw it, some of us didn't. But that's a story for another day. But we're orphans at the end of the day in both in philanthropic world and in the political world. So that's the national mourning that we have gone through. But again, as Hamza said, that what all our common scriptures say, that there is a death and there is a birth. So I'm sure somewhere in this world we've lost Hasu, we've lost our Prime Minister, but somebody else with their same principles are born.
Reincarnation and karma, very briefly, like one.
We believe in that.
Yes.
We believe in that.
What is karma?
What
first?
you do in this world today will be carried forward in your next birth. That's what we believe. That's
karma.
In. That's karma.
What about reincarnation?
Reincarnation, yes, our scriptures say, I don't believe in it personally. I don't know whether I'm coming back. I don't know whether I'm going to see you in the next birth. What I'm going to come as, we don't know. But what our scriptures say, that we have stages in life. The last is a human being. You start with, I think, a mouse and then go to a dog and so many others.
So when you die, you can come back as a dog, as a mouse?
Something of that.
A tree.
Yeah, whatever.
But you don't believe in it?
I personally don't believe in it.
But Hindus...
What I believe in is what you can do today. Don't wait for tomorrow.
It will come back to you. Okay.
Yeah. So on disenfranchised grief, it's a complicated kind of grief in the national figure that people are asking, like the Right Honourable Raila Amolo Odinga and the Hindu leader, the
Patel.
Patel. Yes. So you didn't really know him. Why are you grieving? Okay. So that's like the general sense of it. But he was important because he, like for Raila Amolo Odinga, he was fighting for justice, democracy, and fairness, justice. And yes. So that's the way that you knew him. And you should be allowed to grieve in the way that you knew him. The same way we were saying for a pet, why are you crying? It's because of the importance that this person had in you. So how do you move on in terms of, now on the therapeutical way, how do you move on? We give up to a year, although I think a year is not really enough. It doesn't mean that you're saying that this person was not important. It's just moving on and saying that
life has to go on.
Life has to go on. And that means you adjust and go back to work. You adjust and go back to school. You adjust and learn to have life in a different way without this person in them. It's going to be difficult. Sometimes you can even have 18 years. I think you mentioned 18 years. 18 years later, you're still crying. There's no shame about it. It's for you to adjust and to find a way and to find meaning. So sometimes you will talk about this person, you will name a school after this person, you will name a road after this person, you'll have works that live up to it. I'm going to be generous because this person was generous. And then they can live on through the experiences that you're going to have and the values that they taught you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Daisy. And finally, Hamza.
Sitaki kuongeza mengi, wamezungumza mengi.
Maybe tupatie tu
nitasema tu moja kama ya national moja. Kama 2-3 months tulipoteza chief kadhi wetu mkuu Mombasa. Pia ilikuwa tena ni shock kwetu kwa sababu hata hajamaliza 2 years. So hata sahii bado ndio wametangaza nini ingine hiyo kwa national. Na pia kwa mzee sitaongea mingi, mpaka leo bado watu wanaenda huko na bado watu wanazungumza ile uzuri wake baba. Sasa na time vile imeenda tuwezi kuongea zaidi, tufanye kwa ufupi, lakini tunashukuru kwa hiyo nafasi ambayo tumepata.
Asanteni sana.
Thank you so
Kamal,
much.
Hamza and Daisy for making time. It's been a long show, but we've learned a lot about the different cultures. For sure. All right, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and thank you so much for tuning in to this very important topic about grief. Of course, the parting shot is that grief knows no boundaries, and people mourn, and they mourn differently depending on how, you know, the loss meant to them. So if you're grieving, more hugs to you and comfort to you. May you be comforted and know that you're not alone. And of course, as for national grief, we say we take our time. I mean, if it's somebody we all knew, it's individual as well. So grieve the best way you know how, and may you be comforted. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you again next week, Mungu akipenda. My name is Chabet Birir.